Now let's get to this clinic. Many people are saying this is one of my best media appearances. So this happened right after Channel 4 saw that I was at the Abdul rally, and immediately they locked in because they're like, this guy is you know, he got banned from the UK. This is a great opportunity to get a quick interview. I kept saying no, and they just kept bothering me. So I was like, all right, why not?
Can we just ask you about the Home Office revoking your visa? We're from Channel 4 News in England.
Yeah, it's a sad state of affairs that the Labour government did such an undemocratic thing. But I guess that's the state of the world now. That's the state of liberal democracy now. I didn't have a problem going into the country under Tory leadership, which, you know, clearly I'm at bigger odds with.
They've said that your presence in the UK wouldn't be conducive to the public good. Do you think that could harm Abdul al-Said's campaign being associated with you?
No, I don't think so.
Will it put off some voters?
No, I don't think so.
That's such a funny question. Why the dude, hello, I'm a voter from Kalamazoo. I am going to go out and vote for my favorite senator. Let's see. Will it be for Abdul al-Sayed or will it be for Haley Stevens? Hold on. Let me look through the list of possible surrogates for each campaign and then figure out if one of them has been banned from the UK. Like, what kind of insane line of questioning is this? To which I responded with, no. Why would that be top of mind? American voters are like, do I vote for the Israel Comes to Me in My Dreams candidate or do I vote for the Medicare for All candidate? Wait, hold on. I was going to vote for the Medicare for All candidate over the Israel Comes to Me in My Dreams candidate. But after I found out that the Medicare for All candidate actually campaigned with a guy who got banned from the United Kingdom, I really got to reconsider my positions. Yeah, you lost Abdul, the British geezer voter base. Yeah, guy who's like, day in the life of a Brexit geezer. Wake up in the morning, have a jelly deal, have a go, look at my two favorite Senate candidacies in the Democratic Party. Hopefully neither of them have campaigned with someone who's been banned from the homeland. Yeah, well, he has. I was going to vote for this bloke who likes Medicare for all, and now I'm reconsidering.
I think so. The overwhelming majority of the Western world, I think, recognizes that what Israel is doing is a genocide. I think the media is now playing catch-up at this point, but for the most part, the people are pretty united on this issue. And no matter how hard governments move in the direction of repression, you can't really hide from the truth, and you can't really hide from the shame either. So, you know, it's a setback, it's a hurdle, it's a real shame as well, especially considering that, I mean, I personally thought the UK was a bastion of liberal democracy, that these values like freedom of expression were values that especially the Labour government would be committed to. Hopefully there will be some attitude shifts happening with Burnham.
The government says it is committed to those values, but it says that your presence, you threaten those values. You're not conducive to the public good because of some of your rhetoric.
Yeah, of course the government is going to say that. They're not going to be like, yeah, we hate free speech now, but were they really committed to it with the pensioners that they arrested for the Palestine action protests that were taking place? I don't think so. I think that was a significant mode of repression from a government that recognizes that they are out of step with the needs of their voters, with the needs of the masses that recognize that Israel is committing a genocide, and the masses that demand a change from their government. That is the fundamental of liberal democracy, something that I believe in, something that I'm fighting for here in the United States of America, as the Trump administration is putting democracy in the crosshairs. And it is a real shame.
By the way, that was deliberate. I brought it back to Trump because everybody in the UK hates Trump, except for like some of the sweatiest losers, with the exception of like Nigel Farage. Everybody in the UK hates Trump, right? So I'm saying like the Labour government is behaving like Trump. That's on purpose. Okay. I hit that line to be like, look, I'm fighting against Trump out here. I'm fighting against Trump's like anti-liberal, illiberal attitudes. And you're over there like, you know, repeating it. It's completely unacceptable.
See that exact same mechanism of repression get repeated in a country like the United Kingdom.
It's something the country will deny, obviously, the United Kingdom's government.
Of course it's going to deny it.
Will you apply to go, again, now that Andy Burnham is in
I said, that didn't get picked up that well in the mic, but I was like, of course they're going to deny it. They're not going to say they're fascist. They're not going to be like, yeah, we're doing it for fascism, yeah? Oh, we having baked beans?
charge?
Yes, of course. And there's, we're in works. There were a bunch of different conferences that I was supposed to take part in that I had to take part in digitally. Now, in the age of the internet, it is also additionally silly to try to restrict movement in this regard. But I think it was more so a message. It was a message to everybody else that to think twice before they speak out against Israel and against the UK's relationship with Israel, against the United States' relationship with Israel. It's very frustrating, and it also has an additional compounding effect in terms of growing anti-Semitism. Not only is this false association of Zionism and Judaism very harmful for Jews living in the Western world, and it's something that I actually ironically warned about the last time I was in the UK when I spoke at the Oxford Union, which is what I was supposed to do this time as well before I got banned. It's also very harmful for democracy in general. We should not feel comfortable about our governments taking action like this.
And what about some British Jews who say they feel uncomfortable that some of the criticism of Israel does tip over into anti-Semitism? Some British Jews say that makes them feel very unsafe.
Yeah, no, I totally understand that. Totally understand that. It's something that I oppose. Anti-Semitism is something that I fought back against. It is the canary in the coal mine of fascism. It's completely unacceptable. I'm an anti-fascist. I'm uncompromising on those values. I will always fight back against anti-Semitism as well. The fear can sometimes be very valid. And sometimes I think the fear steps into the territory of defending the nation state of Israel and its actions. I think people are people, countries are countries. I criticize Saudi Arabia vehemently.
You're not suggesting the fear isn't real for people who feel the fear?
Of course not. Of course not. And I do think that there is a legitimate reason for it as well. I think it's not a secret that anti-Semitism has historically exploded in times of Israel's sieges in Gaza. And this time being the most consequential one, the most violent one, has also led to an increase in anti-Semitism. We believe that is partially born out of this false association between Judaism and Zionism, a false association between the nation state of Israel and Jews living in the Western world, Jews all around the world. We oppose that, and we will continue fighting back against that, no matter what people say.
Are some in the Democratic Party, in the establishment, out of touch with how many younger voters especially are feeling about issues like Israel and what's going on in Gaza?
Absolutely. I mean, it's not a secret. I think this race, as well as many other races that I've played somewhat of a role in, I had the honor to work alongside some of these wonderful candidates. This insurgent movement that's growing in this country has proven time and time again that...
You give way too much grace to these bad faith genocide propagandists. Dude, here's why. They don't deserve my grace. They don't deserve my charity, but it doesn't fucking matter because I'm not revealing a perspective that is unique to me here. I'm not conceding on anything. These are things that I believe. So who gives a shit? It doesn't matter. Okay? I'm just, once again, as always, repeating my framework for those who are hearing from me for the first time ever. Okay? That's it. And I'm also matching their energy. It's not like the reporter is just like being that silly. If they were to be like, well, don't you feel like you're fomenting anti-Semitism, stuff like that? You know, it's just, it's situational. If it was like a super reactionary reporter and they were like aggressively coming after me, then yeah, I would flip it back on them.
It's not just about Israel, but a litany of different issues as well. It's about corporatism. For some, it's about capitalism. But for many, it's about corruption and a lack of interest from our politicians to address some of these.
Also, yeah, you guys missed it. I cooked right here.
Has proven time and time again that it's not just about Israel, but a litany of different issues as well. It's about corporatism. For some, it's about capitalism. But for many, it's about corruption and a lack of interest from our politicians to address some of these economic pains that people are experiencing. I mean, after all, this is exactly what Donald Trump ran on as well. He said he was going to fix the prices, and yet prices remain quite high. There's a real affordability crisis in this country. He said he was going to run on a peace ticket, that he was going to be the peace president, and yet he has started countless wars and only continues to leave the world in a state of disarray. A lot of people are very frustrated by that. It's not just the Democrats either. There are a lot of independents who are frustrated by this too, and there are a lot of Republicans who are frustrated by this too. And I think it's fine for DC to be bubbled in and to be completely out of step with the needs of the masses, at least for the time being, because this is a real opportunity for campaigns such as this one, such as Abdul's, such as Melak Kiros, Chris Rabb, many people who are here right now, Donovan McKinney, who's running tomorrow as well in the primary, to really shine, to show that there is an alternative perspective out there, one that centers the needs of the working class rather than corporate interests, because for far too long that's been the only game in town. But we're coming.
Are there parallels with how the working classes are feeling in Britain, but there they're turning to the populist right and not the left? Why do you think that is?
That is an exact parallel that I warned about when Keir Starmer won his race. That was my biggest warning to the British fans that I have, that if Keir Starmer does not overturn years and years of Tory-backed austerity measures, that the populist right was going to continue growing and become a force that the left, the institutional left, could not even fight back against. And I'm afraid that's exactly where we're at. However, at least with the Green Party, there is a little bit of excitement where the base can turn to a functional party that will represent their needs, that will represent a significant significant pushback against the growth of fascism in the UK, whether it be reform or even restore Britain. Including restore Britain and its unholy allegiance with the likes of Elon Musk.
Thank you for that.
Of course.
That was a clinic. Okay, that was like, I'll take it. That was like Zoran level. Okay, that was Big Z level. Very clear, very concise. Boom, 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 boom. Another social interaction nailed. Blocked entry in the UK because of Israel's political lobby. Let's say it like it is. Have to remember the UK government now decides who can enter the country based on if Israel likes them or not. Would voters in Michigan thinking about Abdul be put off because Hasan was banned from the UK? What kind of question is that? Shermer getting blocked from entering the UK, but war criminals are welcome with open arms. Amazing analysis. He's miles ahead of the media in calling out power and demanding political reform. Israel and what's going on in Gaza is such a flagrant cowardice and misinformation that will happily push that Hasan is anti-Semitic, but call what's happening in Gaza a situation. Oopsie doodle, just a little situation over there. Reporter blown away from the away by the most coherent and reasonable political interviewee she has ever encountered. What a change from the dissembling, mealy-mouthed, bought and paid for politicians and political pundits she meets in Britain. You conceded a little too much on anti-Zionism makes Jews feel less scared, though. Dude. That's not the primary concern. The primary concern is the genocide. It's very clear that I'm not saying that like that makes it appropriate to stop arguing against genocide. Are you stupid? My argument there is it's understandable that there's a reasonable amount of fear that British Jews have. Sometimes that fear is reasonable, and in other times it actually sidestepped the conversation into stopping criticism of Israel. That's what I said. Are you stupid? Do you have shit in your ear? Also, huge points for actually elaborating that this capitulation to Israel's demands actually reinforces anti-Semitic rhetorics and agitation by cynical and bigoted people. Exactly. I need you guys to understand something. A lot of people fundamentally misunderstand my position because I do talk about like Jewish exceptionalism, right? I do talk about it. And a lot of people to my left flank in the anti-Zionist movement will oftentimes be like, why are you even bringing up anti-Semitism at all? Who cares? Like, even if their argument sometimes is literally, who cares? Even if people are anti-Semitic, genocide is still worse. And I understand that argument. But the reason why I bring up anti-Semitism is not because I'm like paying the piper so that people don't yell at me or whatever the you think is going on. I bring it up because I do care about it. Okay? I care about it. I don't give a fuck if you don't. I do. Okay? That's it. That's it. When it comes down to opposing all forms of bigotry, including anti-Semitism, I will always do it. When it comes down to combating the cynical weaponization of anti-Semitism in an effort to silence anti-genocide voices, I will call it out. Okay? That's it. That's it. So I don't give a shit about your position on this. This is my position. Perhaps you have a different one. It's fine. You have your own platform. You can keep chirping from your own platform. It's not like I'm allowing criticisms of anti-Semitism to get in the way of anti-Israel commentary. I'm never doing that. Okay? Yes, I know Zay Squirrel was ripping into me because the position is basically that anti-Semitism doesn't exist because it's not materialized into actual oppression. It doesn't matter. Okay? It does not matter. It does not matter. There is still an element of historical repression that does not exist for anti-white bigotry. That's the reason why I can always joke around about, cracker or whatever the fuck. Okay? Like, there's a difference. Because the argument from the anti-Zionists who bring this up is like, Jews are white, or in Norm Finkelstein's words, white plus, and therefore being like anti-Semitic is basically the same as being, anti-white, like demonstrating anti-white rhetoric. There's a level of truth as far as like systematic oppression goes, right? Because yes, Jews are not victim to systemic forms of discrimination by virtue of being Jewish, but that doesn't mean that there hasn't been historic discrimination. And on top of that, contemporary instances of hatred and bigotry, okay? It's true. It does exist. And not only that, but also it is a main organizing principle for fascists on the internet. So I'm sorry, I will make that distinction every single time. That has always been a major organizing principle for the fascists. Nowadays, it's still somewhat of an organizing principle for the fascists, and it's also to be pro-Israel as well. It's ironic because both anti-Semitism and pro-Israel thought are two major through lines, major organizational principles of the international fascist movement. Don't ask me how that's the case, but it's still the case. Okay? And the people that oppose Israel and then say anti-Semitic shit are oftentimes then using that as an opportunity to demonstrate white nativist talking points, to say Jews are doing great replacement. Jews are doing great replacement in the Western world. I'm sorry. I am always going to oppose that narrative. It doesn't matter if you don't want to parse through it, but it's stupid. Okay? I'm not going to play by those rules. You might have a disagreement with me, but the difference here is, do you disagree with my broader points, or do you just disagree with one element of it where I even give credence to the argument of anti-Semitism in an effort to immediately chop it down and then bring in a broader point about how this shouldn't be cynically weaponized against the broader anti-Zionist movement? So I do not care what people who oppose me to my left flank have to say about my commentary. If they are comfortable with a different school of thought or a different way of doing it, then, let them do it. The other reason why I don't do it is because the whole, this is a Jewish state, this is Jewish endeavors, we're doing this for the international Jewry shit, is not only channeled by neo-Nazis, but it's also channeled by the Zionist neo-Nazis. Okay? It's always a handshake between Nick Fuentes and Jonathan Greenblatt. It's a handshake between Nick Fuentes and the entire Israeli movement in this country. They also say this is for the Jews. Why are we giving in to this idiotic framing when that's not the reality? That's it. And then it turns into, oh, Hasan is like pro-IDF. He's pro-IDF. He's pro-war crimes. Why? Because in a clip, I was talking about rehabilitation and redemption, that there was a former Israeli occupying forces member, former IDF soldier, who was a HasanAbi head, who is now a committed anti-Zionist. If you do not believe that even someone who has participated in the IDF could become an anti-Zionist, I'm sorry, you're out of your mind. Yes, they can. For me, my theory of change has always been this, okay? This is a foundational thing I believe in, okay? This is what I've always believed in. And if I didn't believe in this, I wouldn't be as successful as I am in terms of converting so many former reactionaries into loyal servants of the people, okay? Loyal soldiers of the cause. So you might operate on the perspective of vengeance. Unfortunately, there are plenty that feel that way. Okay? Plenty of people feel that way. It sucks. I always urge you to reconsider. Those guys yelled at me for defending an IDF veteran when he was standing with us at the UCLA encampment, encouraging UAW to go on strike for divestment. Yeah, there's always people like this that just go, oh, it doesn't matter. Oh, you were in the IDF in the past, so fuck you. You're done. What do you want them to do? Like kill themselves? Do you think that would be more worthy? Or do you think that the fact that they are now advocating aggressively against Israel's genocide, advocating against Israel, advocating against Zionism is perhaps a far better way to make up for their past possible crimes? Obviously, there are differences, but to me, Jewish Americans and East Americans occupy similar roles. Neither face structural discrimination from business or the government, but both face significant discrimination from the individuals to a degree that results in violence and hate crimes. You can't say that just for generic white Americans. Yes, there is obviously a difference. But it's also situational. It depends on where you are. Like Norm says, Jews are white plus because he lived in New York his whole life. He lived in Brooklyn his whole life. Obviously, it's a little bit different if you're like in Alabama and you're Jewish. Some will look at you and be philo-Semitic and go, oh my God, you are like God's chosen son. What can I do for you? But there are plenty of others who will be a neo-Nazi and be like, you're Jewish? Where's your tail? Where's your horns? It's a little bit different in different parts of the country. Having said that, we're talking about systematic forms of discrimination. And yes, Jews broadly do not face systemic discrimination in contemporary American society. They had in the past, but currently it's not the case. It's not like no one is going to make the argument that the discrimination that Jews experience is identical to black people in this country or brown people in this country. And the people who will say that are psychotic. I want to say one final note on people, okay? On my attitude on criminal justice, but more so just like reform and rehabilitation, okay? Because this isn't just about crime. This is about social crimes primarily, okay? Things that people in your social circles might perceive to be like up, imperfections in your past. I will always make space for you. Regardless of who you were in the past, what matters now is how you atone for it. What matters now is how you carry yourself, okay? That is always a promise that I will make to you. It does not matter how other people's attitudes are towards you. I will always be open-minded. I will always be understanding. I do not care, okay? There's always an opportunity for redemption. No one is perfect. I always repeat this, but I think it's an important message to repeat because I think it's one of the worst elements of the broader left is this idea that we basically become cops. Like everyone wants to be a cop. Everyone wants to be a little cop. I hate it. I hate this mentality. Okay? I hate this mentality. There are some of you out there who are like, well, I've done this or that. I've been in like right-wing circles. I've had right-wing opinions. I went down the right-wing rabbit hole. There are others just like you. Okay? There are others just like you. What matters is who you become. Okay? Your experiences are your experiences. We are all imperfect vessels. Okay? That to be imperfect is to be human. So what matters is not what you have done in the past. What matters is what you're doing now. Okay? I will never abandon you. I will never cast you aside. I will never reject you. I will never sit there and try to lord my current moral perspective as being much higher than you. Okay? I hate that shit. It's gross. It's wrong. And most of the people only get to do it on the internet under the guise of anonymity because no one can turn that mirror back at them. Okay? No one is like this in the real world. No one is like this for their immediate family members. No one is like this for their friends. They're far more forgiving in the real world, and they're far more open-minded, and they're far more understanding. You can never organize adequately. You can never organize and build a large movement if your attitude is simply, things are irredeemable. Okay?